As we know that this is our second day of this seminar. Those who are attending the first time, let me introduce our teacher, Reverend Johnson George sir. He's the founder president of our Satveda mission, and also is the teacher of our Satveda Bible College. And at the same time, he is a pastor and a Bible teacher. And he's a man with a burden for souls. He teaches from Bible truth very deeply. So I would like to welcome our sir to take today's class. We can attend the class with a prayerful heart. May God bless all of us and let it be a blessing for all of us. Sir, please take this session.
Thank you, Sister Bincy, for the good introduction. Thank you, Pastor Jose, for the prayer. No matter what kind of platform we are in the presence of God. Whether we call it a seminar, workshop, church, cottage prayer, whatever we call it, we are God's people and we are in the presence of God. And that God is around us and God is with us. And God loves to connect with us. Some way, God loves to speak to us. That is something beautiful about our God. God communicates. Last week, last Saturday, we started this 7 weeks special seminar on challenges to Christian faith and witness, contemporary challenges to Christian faith and witness. And in that, I told you, we will be focusing on the challenge of the materialism, the challenge of religions, and the challenge of cults. These are the 3 things we are dealing. And last Saturday, we focused on the development of the current materialistic challenge, which is the largest challenge, the biggest challenge that became enormous. The growth of irreligious or religiously none is alarming all over. It's not only to our faith, it's a problem to faith. First, we are addressing that issue, and we have seen how it works, how it operates, how it developed, and those things. So while tracing back the origin of modern materialism, we found that from Renaissance, different branches, different offshoots were there. And one of the offshoot of Renaissance turned out to be materialism. Materialism, I explained, and we are focusing more on the philosophic aspect of materialism. That is the philosophy that there's only matter, nothing beyond, denying the possibility of spiritual thing or spirit, soul, spirit, anything beyond matter. The universe, everything is within time, space, and matter. That concept. That's what we addressed. At the same time, I told you Renaissance in itself is not bad, but Renaissance had several offshoots, including missionary movement. Missionary movement is one of the greatest religious awakening the world has seen. That's the most positive thing. Industrial revolution, and so many things. I listed them, and I said one of the offshoot became materialism, the concept that everything is matter. Our life is all about matter, nothing beyond. And also I mentioned that this kind of thinking, similar thinking, was there all through history. The Epicureans of Greece and other people were there. Those things I just mentioned, but those were fringe groups, not widely influential. And even in India, one of the 6 philosophies of India is atheistic philosophy or matter-focused philosophy. I mentioned all those things. I was giving a survey, not a detailed discussion. Detailed discussion, it takes time, hours and hours. So I was giving just a survey. But at the same time, don't get confused between the Renaissance and materialism. Materialism is one of the offshoots from that movement, one of the, but don't see them as synonymous. Renaissance and materialism are synonymous. Please don't confuse. Renaissance is an awakening. It had a religious awakening. It produced the missionary movement. It had industrial revolution that made the modern world. All those things happen. But when we are having a chemical action, products are there, byproducts are there. So one of the product or byproduct became materialism, or it grew like that. One of them. So some scholars identify so many, and I just focused only on 4 of them, and from there we will move on. Today, our focus is on how to counter the arguments leveled against religion or faith by the materialistic movement, materialistic argument. We are not saying about the materialism within the church. We are saying the materialism, the philosophic materialism of the world, which is saying there is no God, there is no spirit, there is nothing beyond our mundane life. Everything ends when we die. For me, the world ends when I die. So how to counter that argument? That's our focus. In that, we know how to answer personally, our way of answering. But today I will just bring very briefly, without going into detail, several arguments for proving that it is impossible without God. That's it's impossible without God, or impossible without God. Last 1 week was a rough week for me. I wanted to spend so much time in preparing the PowerPoint and all, but I was traveling. I was sick for a day. I ate 3 meals the same day from outside one day because we were traveling, and I fell sick for a day. Thank God I got okay the next day. I was so weak, but I got okay. Then I had to travel with that weakness to Chicago, and I drove 12 hours a day. My car, it was so huge, and I came back, and I got yesterday, so I didn't get time to make the PowerPoint. But for our students, I will definitely put all these things in PowerPoint, and I will supply you the material. I will supply you later. I didn't get enough time, mainly because I became very weak. It was a rough week. So we will go through the arguments one by one, a little bit fast. Okay, listen to me carefully and ask questions at the end. So arguments for the existence of God, arguments, and none of this is based on a religion. All these arguments are philosophical arguments. None of these arguments are from Bible. None of them from any religious text. These are just a natural philosophic arguments we are developing to tell the people, tell those who are arguing that there is no God, that we need God. It is impossible without God. It is impossible without God. If you are hearing a lot of sounds from outside, mostly birds, just enjoy. Don't feel like it is disturbance. Enjoy the sound of the birds, okay? Birds or whatever. Sometimes I get some small animals too. So just enjoy. This is natural background, not virtual. So you can enjoy the sound. So the arguments for existence of God. Some of them you all know, we all know, because we being believers in our church, our pastors teach us some arguments. And I'm just putting together all of them. Putting together or bringing together all these arguments. I may say minimum 15 or even more points. Many of them are related. Many of them are connected, related, but we are forwarding for our own reflection. We had to think. A couple of you sent me some feedback about last Saturday. And I'm so glad that you started thinking. I am absolutely glad about those reflections. That really helped me to pursue it further, because people are thinking, people are reflecting. That encourages me a lot. Absolutely. We all are just human beings that we live in the same way. There's no difference. We all are in the same level. Back in India, unfortunately, people classify into different groups. But actually, we are all God's children. We are all equals. We are all equal. There is no hierarchy in Christian faith. Only functions are there, different functions. If a pastor is functioning as a pastor, you don't take the mic and preach. Let the pastor do. Let the president do his work. Let the let the prime minister do his work. The same way we do. But apart from that, we all are equal before the law. Equality. All those things are there. Those things, if we get time, we will discuss at the end. Certain arguments for the existence of God. The first argument is the argument from change. Argument from change. Things change. The universe is changing. Listen to me. The universe is changing. You get the seed of the teak tree, which is the biggest tree in India, banyan tree. When I was in Calcutta, I went to see the oldest and largest tree in the world, a banyan tree covering 5 acres of land in Calcutta. It has got a 2,420 what we say roots that goes down to the earth, and it's like independent tree, but all of them are connected. Single tree. So you get the seed and you plant it, and then it starts growing. It springs and starts growing, and finally it becomes the big tree. Here you can see in the background big trees, and I checked how old they are. They are not very old. They are only less than 30 years old. When the developer developed this land, he planted the tree. They are maple trees, and one is an oak tree. So he planted the seed, and it came up, and now they look very big, very huge. If the seed was kept inside the home, the seed would have been remaining the same way. But the seed, when it got external forces at work on it, or we say a conducive atmosphere where the water molecules, the air, the nitrogen, and other ingredients in the soil started acting on it, it started changing. It started changing and it became a big tree. The same way, when I was 3-year-old, I had only 12 pounds. Then I grew. Now I am in Indian weight 75 kilograms. Change happened. All the change happened because of the action of external forces. External forces. So from our own life to the earth, to the universe, everywhere we see change. We are mostly concerned about the weather change, environmental changes. We are concerned about the change in the universe. And suddenly somebody says, Mercury is changing. The Pluto is changing. This is changing. That is changing. Sun is changing. Stars are changing. The black hole, all those things you hear. It's changes everywhere. And one change is caused by another external force. So if the whole universe is changing like that, what is causing the ultimate change to the universe? What is the thing that is not changing but causing the initial change? And we say it's impossible without a transcendent force beyond matter, time, and space to cause the change. Just like a seed is growing, just like we are born. So the ultimate change, the change in the universe says something should be there. There must be something that is, admins, would you please mute those who are not speaking? I am speaking. So the change we see around says there should be something that will not change. And that's what we call God. Something beyond this matter, space, and time, beyond this universe should be there. It's a must. Without that, we cannot have all these changes happening. And something should be there that is unchanging. Something should be there that is eternal. Something should be there that is beyond this, a transcendent being, a transcendent external force. Are you not listening carefully?
Sir,
Maybe
കേൾക്കാം.
because yeah,
some network
others
there is some
are
network
getting
problem.
unmuted. That's why some of the
There
things
is
are
some
missing.
network problem, sir. I'm losing what you are saying.
Okay, 1 second. Just wait a couple of seconds. I will change the position. Are you able to hear me well? Others, would you please keep it muted? Those who are in the line, everybody, would you please keep your line muted? Because when one person is speaking, others are unmuted, it can cause disturbance. Kindly mute it. Okay. Thank you. Trust you all can hear very well now. Let me try to turn on my video. Okay, I have come back to my home inside. Okay, I love to sit in the natural background. Okay, so that is our one of the arguments. Argument from change. Change happens. There should be a force that is unchanging, that is not changing, to cause the universe to do the change, an external force. It is impossible without God. The second argument is very related to it. When you go to a piano and you turn it on and then you play on it and you hear the Okay, I hope you see me. You play the piano. When you stop playing, the music is stopping. When you start again, there is music. When you stop it, again it is stopping. So there should be a cause. The argument from efficient causality or cause. Something need to cause for something to exist. The sound, if I keep my mouth shut, the sound will not come. With my desire and will, I open my mouth and speak, you hear it. You play the music, you take the gun and shoot, the bullet goes. So everything, effective causality or cause, someone need to cause anything to happen. For anything to happen, somebody need to cause it. Somebody need to play on it. Our existence is like a gift from the ultimate cause. So anything that exists because somebody caused it. But the naturalists argue that everything came into existence. The topmost argument, unfortunately for them, for the beginning of the universe is saying, Stephen Hawking's Big Bang Theory. But actually there they ultimately fail. There's a complete failure. If they have developed some other argument, it would have been better. Unfortunately, they finally went and said it's a Big Bang. And who caused it? They have no answer. It just happened. But the science says, the same science says, nothing comes out of nothing. If Big Bang happened without nothing, they terribly failed there. So the efficient causality argument we forward. We cannot bring music, we cannot bring voice, we cannot do anything. We do it by an efficient action, efficient cause is there. That argument, in churches also we hear people say, we are good in arguing. So I'm not bringing so many illustrations. You can bring as many illustrations as possible. You can think further on that. Then argument from time. Argument from time. We live in a world where we work with time. We think like within the time framework, things are happening. Time framework. Without, we may say in philosophically, irrespective of time, we cannot respond to respective things. So everything is in respective to time. Everything is respective to time. So the time demands there must be something beyond our time, and time works within our sphere, and we call that timeless being God. We call that timeless thing, timeless being beyond our time. Maybe you can include space or time and contingency. Is contingent on us. Time and contingency, we call it God. So I'm just telling you some clues. I will put all these things with some more additions in the PowerPoint. Suddenly the weather changed outside and I'm just concerned. Just not showing, but it's like a storm outside. So number 4, the fourth argument we are bringing is the argument from the degrees of perfection. Degrees of perfection. When we see an yellow flower, we say this is light yellow or dark yellow. When we see something else, we compare it with something. The degrees of perfection, different degrees are there. Different I think I will go for the gallery view. We are only limited people, so I will go for the gallery view. Degrees of perfection. We compare hot or hotter, greener, more or less. Different degrees are there. When it comes to values and goodness and things like that, that also we are saying the degree. We are saying how it is. Goodness of things. We said an intelligent being is better than unintelligent being. An intelligent person is better than an unintelligent person. So we compare all those things. There's a degree. For everything we see degrees. Our life, everyday life is like that. Oh, when we get the chicken curry, we say, this is very hot. Because it is hotter than the yesterday's curry. Or the curry in another hotel. So we compare with the degrees. We make more, less, most, all degrees are there. And how we will measure the values like goodness. How do we find the perfect goodness? Where do we find it? How you find a man who is perfectly good? From where we get that the most in regard to values? And we say, we see it in God. Without God, measuring values is impossible. It is impossible to measure values without God. The being of all beings is the perfection of all perfections, and we call it God. Some naturalists, they have no hesitation to say the being of beings, the perfection of perfection, things like that. But they are hesitant to say God. But we say the same thing. That is God. God is that measuring point, the perfection of all perfection. That's what we say, the degrees of perfection in regard to values, especially. One more thing along with that, one more thing. When we say, when we just pick the coffee cup, which was sitting very close to the stove, and we say, oh, it is hot, it's burning, my hand is burning, my finger is burned. The reason is it was very close to the stove. It was very close to the burner. So the proximity to the source caused it to be hotter. The proximity to the source. So we say the values the same way. If it is closer to the source, it is higher. So if we are closer to God, and those who are closer to God show a better degree of value, we simply say it was the proximity to the best. The proximity, exactly like heat, the proximity to the source caused it. The nearness, proximity or nearness to the source made that to happen. So we were discussing vitamin D in the beginning. And I was so glad that we unknowingly or knowingly went on to vitamin D. I think Santosh started it. And let me say, vitamin D ultimately comes from sun. If you are exposed to the sun, whether you take it as tablets or whatever, the original source is sun. The energy, the light energy causes it. So proximity, our nearness to the sun, helps us to gain vitamin D in our body. Otherwise, we had to collect it from other sources, which is already caused by the light energy to develop it. So closeness or nearness or proximity to the source gets higher level, degree of value. So that says that there must be a source for values. It is impossible without a source for developing values. As far as we see the reality of the degrees of perfection, degrees of values, degrees, we compare all our existences on that comparison. Number 5, this is familiar for all of us, the intelligent design argument. All over the world, people say, oh, be scientific. So that scientific, what is science? Especially the physical laws. Think about the physical laws. Newton's law or whatever law. So how they got developed. Or law 1, law 2, natural law, how they developed? They developed it by consistent observation. Listen to me. Consistent observation helped them to find some patterns. And finding the patterns is the source for developing natural law. So the pattern, what is pattern? Pattern says there's an order in the universe. So it is not Newton inventing it. It's not Einstein inventing it. It is not Max Planck inventing it. Nobody is inventing. It is consistent observation of the patterns of behavior. When I was doing my doctoral program, there are different types of qualitative, quantitative, different types of researches. So in whatever research it is, the primary thing is you observe, especially qualitative research in social studies, in all social sciences, we do qualitative research. We have to find patterns of behavior, or patterns of events, patterns of happenings. Why there are patterns of events? Because there is an order in the universe, and there is a design in the universe. And that order and design helps us to develop natural law. Whether you call it natural law or whatever, it is not invented, it is only ultimately observed. Somebody is observing it. Listen to me. Observing what is already existing. It is existing. And from there, we make the laws. And that points to the important argument that if there is order in the universe, if there are patterns in the universe, if there is design in the universe, ultimately, intelligence is needed for understanding it, and intelligence is needed for creating it. If we call those who developed the math and science intelligent people, Einstein, we look up to them, Newton, we look up to them as intelligent people, and even today, those who are finding things, intelligent beings, they need intelligence for understanding. Then what about the one who made that order, the one who made that pattern, the one who is behind it? So if intelligence is needed for observing the intelligent order of the world, it is impossible to have an intelligent order, intelligent design, intelligent pattern without an intelligent external source. And we call that God. So this is existing. And that is the argument from design. There are books written on each of the arguments. I am running through because our time is limited. Number 6. This is known as the speech argument. This developed in the Middle East. Speech argument, or kalam is an Arabic word I used. Argument. This was in existence even before Islam, but Islam Muslims made it little popular. It is very close to design argument, they say, or causality argument, but that developed in Middle Eastern region. So that is very popular. So they wanted a unique design, unique argument. I'll just explain it. They say the universe came into existence. Anything that comes into existence needs a cause. And that cause is what we call God. This is going very close to our fourth argument. Sorry, a third argument. It actually effective causality argument. So people call it a speech argument or the kalam argument. I'm not going into detail of that, but because this is very close to our third argument. Argument from the universe as an interactive whole. This universe is not existing completely independently, or each ingredient or element in this universe is closely connected to another thing, closely connected. And that close connection shows a certain ratio, clear ratio. Once you change the ratio, that particular material or that particular thing changes its qualities. For example, water. Water, we say it is H2O, oxygen joining with the 2 atoms of hydrogen makes it a water molecule, H2O, water molecule. If it is 3 molecules, so 3 atoms of hydrogen, it's a different thing. It's a chemistry, simple, very simple. It's a different thing. So this ratio is maintained and everything connects. Everything connects. So chemistry, when you studied the molecules connecting with others, connecting, the entire universe the same way is connected. One is connected to the other. Some way it is connected. Everything is dependent. Everything is connected and dependent. And there is a dynamic interactivity among the existing things in the universe. There's a very clear interactivity. I talk to you and you're listening to me. It's an interactivity, interaction. The universe exists in interaction, connection. Connection is there. Very much it is connected. But everything has got a particular ratio too. And depends on different affairs of life, different affairs of life. It goes on like that. The universe interacting whole. This tells us that if the universe is an interacting whole, how this interacting whole came into existence? A lot of questions. What caused this to interact like this? Where it all began? It demands us to think about its beginning. It demands us to think about a source beyond it. And we arrive at the religion that offers God as the creator of the universe. So the interactivity, interdependence, that is a major argument to say that this is created, this is given, this is granted. This is not just matter. There's a pattern, there's a clear ratio, there's a clear interactivity. What we say in nature, we have a chain, isn't it? Food chain. The rabbit eats grass, and the rabbit is eaten by a wolf, and then it goes back, and a chain is developed. And science is teaching us the food chain. The same way, the entire universe is a chain of actions, interactions. So if these actions are not designed, not developed, not monitored, not planned, how all these things happens, how it survives. There's an interesting argument you can develop on it, because when we listen to something, we get new arguments, right? We think further on it. Please bring illustrations, like I said, several illustrations. Take it as your assignment or your homework to find more illustrations from your branch of study, science or social studies or things like that on these things. Another argument, the ninth argument is argument from miracles. Do we have miracles in this world? Some people deny miracles. Some of the miracles people say as miracles are not in fact miracles. They are caused by natural phenomena. Something like the asteroids falling on the earth. It is not actually exactly a miracle. We can identify the issues. But a person is praying, you are praying for something which is impossible, humanly impossible for you, and the next day you find it happening, is a miracle for you. Miraculous experience. Who causes it? Do we have illustrations of people reporting miracles in this world? Absolutely, there are. One famous atheist lived in the beginning of 20th century, Pascal. He started as an atheist, ended as a religious person. Some of his dreams, they come to reality, some of his dreams. Then he said, those dreams come to reality not by my action, it's by the action of somebody. So finally, he reflected on it, and finally he ended up as a believer, as a good believer. So experience, do we have experiences reported, miracles reported? If there are, and if we can verify them, if we can verify the miracles. Not every miracles are verifiable. I don't think all miracles can be verified. But if the miracles are verified, and we have seen it in enormous occasions, somebody is causing it. Who is causing it? We say there must be a transcendent being beyond this universe, a transcendent source beyond this, and that must be God. It's impossible without God. Number 10, Consciousness, argument from consciousness. We are conscious of things. It is graspable for us. We can grasp the phenomenon. We can understand things. We are conscious of what is happening around us. Consciousness, what is happening around us. This universe is graspable by an intelligent being. If we are intelligent, we can grasp what is happening in this universe. So we go back. Who gave this intelligence? From where this intelligence came? If everything is caused by something, my consciousness or my intelligence, from where? Who caused that intelligence? From where we got this consciousness? We are cautious. We are conscious of things. What's happening around? We can understand. We can grasp. It's graspable. There must be a source for it. From where it came? Who caused this intelligence in us? Who caused this intelligence in us? And we finally go back and say, if nothing comes from nothing, as we see, observable, the fundamental argument of the material world is, whatever you see, whatever is happening, it should be observable in laboratory. The same argument we are leveling back to them. If the intelligence, if we can grasp things, if we are conscious about the things in this universe, and it is real, and it cannot produce by itself, from where it came? We argue the same argument they level to us and tell them that this comes from an outside source. And that source we call the mover, the intelligent mover of all things moving. That is God. Number 11, the concept of truth. The argument from the concept of truth. The argument from the concept of truth. Though we are finite beings, absolutely, we agree. Though we are finite, we can discern or understand truth. We can understand truth. Along with several other things, we have concept of truth in us. From where we got this concept of truth? What is truth? If everything is relative, if everything is matter, if everything is just happening, from where, how do we get the concept of truth? Truth, people can say it's an absolute. Whether it is subjective or not, we still, even with our finite, limited beings, we understand truth. I told you, these are not biblical preaching or biblical teaching. These are philosophic arguments. So sometimes we may not understand everything. We can reflect on it. Please keep reflecting. And once I provide you some material, you keep reading and reflecting on it. How do we understand truth? What is the source of truth? What is ultimate truth? Questions. We are human beings. We say there is no truth. There's no truth in it. There's no truth in it. Truth value, degrees of truth, and all those things are. We theists or believers or those who believe in God say, we got this capacity because God is ultimate. There must be an absolute truth, ultimate truth, without which we cannot have this concept of truth. The very concept of truth comes from the ultimate truth. Otherwise, if it is just survival of the fittest, as I had told you last Saturday, if it is matter producing matter, if it is only mutations, there cannot be something called the concept of truth. The very concept of truth demands a source for it. And we squarely go back to God. Truth must reside in a mind. We discern truth, we speak about truth, but that comes from mind. And if there's an ultimate truth, that truth must reside in a mind. So God must be a mind and God must be a personality. It should reside in a mind. So God is personal and God is real. and that comes from God. Number 12, the argument from the origin of the concept of God or idea of God. I told you one of the classes, and we all say this is very familiar for us. No matter the aboriginals of Amazon or aboriginals of Andaman, no matter where you go, the interior place, when Columbus came to America, he found the Native Americans everywhere, wherever he went, wherever the explorers went. David Livingstone went to the darkest part of Central Africa. They found the concept of God still there, the concept of God everywhere. And we argue that from where that concept came, we say that intelligent designer kept something in a chip inside of us that longs for knowing the maker. So we say that origin of the concept of God comes from God himself. Because it is true, it is there. It is there. Because love is real, romantic poems, romantic novels thrive the world from beginning until now, all over the world, no matter whether it is Hindi movie or English movie or anything, there is the concept of love. This concept of God, from where it comes? Because it is real. We argue. Number 13, Anselm of Canterbury, in the Middle Ages, he developed an argument. We call it ontological argument. That ontological argument is a philosophical argument, very highly philosophical argument, but in simple terms, he says, what is God calls us to think about there is God. And there is the very existence of reality demands the existence of a transcendent being. Transcendent being. And that transcendent being is our God. So the existence, if I am, you are, he is, she is, the very presence, very existence, some people call it existential argument or existential philosophy is we developed from it. It's a very complicated argument. I'm not getting into the detail of it because our time is running very fast. So Google Anselm, A-N-S-E-L-M, and Anselm and ontological argument. You will get more reading on it. C.S. Lewis further explained on it. Have you heard of C.S. Lewis? C.S. Lewis, please read. There are so many books. One of his books is known as The Miracles, another is known as The Mere Christianity. They explain philosophically this ontological argument. I'm leaving it there. And in systematic theology, you will study a little more about ontological argument. So, because we have systematic theology, time being, I'm leaving it there. Number 14 is the moral argument. Moral argument. Are we morally obligated to others? Do we have moral obligation? Can this world survive if there's no moral obligation on anybody? Come on, think about it. If there's no moral obligation on anybody, can a government make laws? If there's no moral obligation in our interactions, I said the universe is interacting. In our interactions, what can happen? Think about it. All moral obligations on humanity demands that our obligation must be to a higher moral being than us. If we are obligated to others on our level, we can fail the other person because we make mistakes morally. Moral mistakes are often part of life. We say to err is human, isn't it? And to forgive is divine. To err is human. We make moral errors, mistakes often. And if we have moral obligation, and that is a source for judicial system of the world, the entire judicial system of the world, or the governments or governance, and if our government is doing corruption, we say it is corruption because they have moral obligation to the people. If moral obligation is a reality, if morality is a reality, the moral obligation, the morality we find or we want, everybody wants it, everyone wants it. That demands a higher moral being, and we call it God. God is that higher moral being. There is something beyond matter. it is not all about matter. It is not all about survival of the fittest. There is something called a higher moral, pure being. We call it God. And in biblical language, it is holiness of God. That moral perfection is what we call holiness. It is not a dressing white. It is the moral purity of God. Number 15, the argument from our conscience. Consciousness and conscience are different things. We are conscious to grasp things, conscious to understand, conscious when somebody is touching. But conscience is different. Our conscience. Often we say, my conscience will not permit that evil to do. I cannot kill anybody because my conscience will not permit that. And conscience works on guilt. We feel guilty when we break the rule of our conscience. We feel guilty. But repeated offense can change the scenario, but everyone is created with this conscience. You know this argument, so I am not explaining. People are created with that conscience. The conscience is keeping somebody from something. That conscience, the level of conscience varies from people to people. That is true, agree, but still then this conscience is there on everybody. You further develop on that. Number 16, the argument from desire or will. We desire. We desire things. We use our willpower, or we desire for things. One question. Are we satisfied? How do you find one person who is satisfied perfectly in all affairs of life? Are you satisfied about your partner? Are you fully satisfied about your spouse? Are you fully satisfied about your parents? Are you fully satisfied about your kids? Funeral service, we may say a lot of beautiful things about our parents, but while they were alive, you were kept on complaining, isn't it? You had complaints, because you desire better. You desire better. You want things better, everything better. All complaints come because your desire for a better thing. And we say, we desire ultimately for the best. That is God. There must be a satisfying thing, and that is what the religion is offering, and we call it God. So that is the desire argument from and desire. Number 17, the argument from aesthetics or enjoyment of beauty. Do we enjoy beauty? Do we enjoy good music? Why don't you go for an average musician, but you go for the best musician? When India and Pakistan is playing in, suppose they come to Bhopal, my friend Santosh will try to get a ticket because it is something beautiful to watch. Even if two schools are competing there, who will go? You will not go. Only school kids will be interested. If Carmel School and Montfort School, they are fighting, we don't even notice that. We notice the best. We want to enjoy the beauty. And when we find some beautiful flower, we enjoy. Aesthetics. What is aesthetics? It exists. Beauty exists. But if somebody says, can you make it tangible? Your enjoyment, it is not that tangible. What about God experience, our God experience? If aesthetics exist, if your enjoyment of beauty is real, our enjoyment of God also is real. Our enjoyment of God also is real. Think further on it. You can make a lot of illustrations from all affairs of life. Number 18, argument from the reported religious experience. I say, when I received Jesus, I got transformed. I became a new creation. Same way, the religious experience, argument from religious experience. Then people can deny, but say reported, observed reality. Especially in America, a regularly religious church-going person will bring up their children in better morality. It's an observable fact. Even the secular media, which don't believe, they say, now they are alarmed if a church-going person's child does a crime, because expectation is a regular church-attending person's child will be moral. From where that argument, from where that idea came, because there's a and accepted notion that a person who is having better religious experience connects with the better things, and they can be better religious experience. Argument from religious experience, every kind of religious experience. Religious experience is real. There are things beyond our matter. It could be good or bad, real God or demons, but a religious experience is real. And a Satanist also experiences religion, but we say it is satanic, but beyond matter, something is there. Beyond matter, something works. Then the common consent argument, or the argument from the consent. What is consent? We consent, we agree upon, we give consents. If a person is abusing a child below 18 or 20, we say that child was not in the consentable or consensual age. So this person should get a higher punishment. All that argument, consensus, consent. From where that all that sphere of argument comes. Everyone argue for consent. That happened without my consent. Though I was there, I didn't consent it. I didn't agree it. In judiciary, 5 judges are there making a decision. One person says, I'm disagreeing. I don't give consent for it. Full bench decided it, but one person disagreed it. The consent, the argument from that skill, ability of consent. Very quality is not visible. That quality is beyond something observable in the test tube, but that is real. The same way, God, you want to see it in test tube, but we feel like something when I do, it's not, there's no consent of God in it. There's no consent of the ultimate in it. And I believe that exists, that being exists. So I said 19 arguments about the existence of God. Many of them are very closely connected. You can develop, at least you should have 5 strong arguments. At least you should have 5 strong arguments to tell the people that, see, it is impossible without God. And finally, a 20th one, somebody says, Pascal, the one who was an atheist and who became a Christian philosopher, he said, Pascal's wager argument, and he says, all people seek truth, and some find, and some don't find, and some, there are 3 categories of people. Some people seek and find, some people seek and don't find, and some people never seek. 3 groups of people. So it is always better to seek and find. Whether you are a human being who lives without seeking, your inner search will be still visible. Some people argue. Anyway, he says finally, if you seek and if you find God, you won everything. Won everything. But the one who is not seeking is losing everything. So if God is real, you're losing the reward of God, all the rewards of God. So seeking should be there because you get the wage for it. The wager is there. You seek. And if qualities people seek, if love people seek, why don't you seek God? That's not an argument for the existence of God, but an argument for telling people to seek God. So several things I said, so many things. I will give you all these things in PowerPoint, at least the main core thing. Our time gone so much. You should develop your own. These are summarized arguments from different fields, different people. But you develop your own from all these things. You develop. And each evangelist, you want to live as a person of faith. You want to go as a person of faith. You want to go as a person of witness. If you want to live as a person of faith and witness, you need satisfactory answers for human questions. So individually, I just summarized 20, but mostly when I communicate with materialistic people, I argue 5 or 6 of them, which became my personal. Because I find more meaning in those 5 or 6 of them. I don't go for arguing with the people, 20 of them or 18 of them or 15 of them. It is little hard because we don't get time for it. So I pick up the most understandable one for me, easy one for me, easy to convince the other person. And I tell them it is impossible without God. It is impossible without God. It is impossible without God. So this is not for shouting out, but it's for convincing people, telling the people. Everything one by one you can go through and figure out which one is best for you. At least 5 of them, 5 arguments that goes with your education and your level of thinking and your level of life, everything, and tell the people it is impossible without God because of these things. So that you have to make a couple of things along with that. The Bible we didn't do a couple of weeks. Next week we'll have the Bible also after this, because mostly only students are attending. I thought if there are people from outside, Bible again, I will go back to Tuesday, but we don't have so many people from outside. Only Sadveda community is there. Sadveda Bible College community is there. So next Saturday I will pick up the Bible thing also for 35 minutes right after this. So come on, couple of things that you responded to me. I explained in the beginning. One of them was why don't we see the materialism as something good? But actually, I felt like that comes from the confusion of materialism and Renaissance are seeing as synonymous. No, I said in the beginning, it's not synonymous. Renaissance was good, but one of the offshoot, the materialism, denying spirit, denying God, denying anything beyond matter, that's what we are countering. We are not arguing against Renaissance, all the good things, the factories that produce mass, material, everything. We are happy about everything. We are happy about everything good. We are happy about the media. We are happy about the news. We are happy about the philosophy of equality. We are happy about all those things. We have no problem with those things. But our problem was with those who deny God, those who say there is nothing beyond matter, philosophical understanding of materialism. That's what. So I think I'm making sense for that concern. Another concern was on missionary movement. Is the missionary movement also from the Renaissance? Absolutely yes. I go with that understanding. These questions came to me from some of you after the session because there was no question answer session that day. So Renaissance means there came a kind of revolution in information passing the thinking. People got freedom to think, reflect. So printing press became real. With the advent of the printing press, people started getting information from around the world. Now, another revolution of social media. We get all good information and wrong information, but it has got a lot of good things and bad things. But let's see the good side first and then the bad side. So missionary movement also happened. The movement, not individuals, the movement, because printing of the Bible, printing of messages, and all those things are coming out of Renaissance. So the modern missionary movement also is an offshoot of Renaissance, European Renaissance. Some people became instruments. You know them. You are studying it in history of Christianity. So one more concern. What was that? One more concern was raised. Well, yeah, that I'm thankful for that. That's a very simple one. I said China has got the largest number of non-religious people. Second is India. And then somebody was saying, it's not because of the population. Absolutely, yes. It's because of the population. But even in India, 10 crore people is an alarming number. And you will face them. If not today, tomorrow, you will meet them. Number 2 is India. Absolutely. 10 crore people, near to 10 crore people say we are not religious. We don't believe in religion. We don't believe anything beyond material matter. Everything is working on science. But all our arguments are scientific. It's not biblical from religion's argument. It's all argument from whatever science is developing, observation, patterns, everything. The same route we are using to counter them and tell them that it is impossible without the ultimate mover, the ultimate being, the ultimate transcendent being who is beyond this universe. This universe is the matter of space and time. And we are telling them that it is impossible without God. Come on, couple of minutes for bringing your good points, reflections, and things like that. We will reflect together. Sadveda, I want to be a very active body. You really develop your own arguments and we become very vibrant. Bible schools, they are not learning these things even in advanced level. Even up to PhD level, they are not thinking further on the existence of God. Apologetics is avoided in India. Very sad. Most Bible schools in India, they don't think apologetics is a necessary subject. Very unfortunate. But we want Sadveda to focus on these kind of very practical things because we have a mission. We are a people of faith and witness. These two words keep in your mind. We are people of faith and witness. We are not learning something to keep for ourselves. We are learning something because we want our faith and witness an energetic, active, day-to-day affair. So we want all these things. Come on, anybody, any of your reflection? I may not be answering all of you. You can bring your reflections and questions. We will think together.
Sir, one of the most debated topics when it comes between the existence of God and science as such is the topic of creation of life. We have this theory of evolution by Darwin, which says that every life evolved from another life. But when we start debating, so if they say that we came from monkeys, we're not created in the exact form as God himself, the same likeness of God. And when we ask them that where did monkeys come from? So they have a chain from vertebrates to from invertebrates to vertebrates, from single-celled organism to multiple cell organisms, and then they crawled out of the sea and things. What should be our stand on Darwinism and the creation? Of course, I give an answer like this, that if you say that the hen came from somewhere and you say it comes from the egg, so where did the egg come from? So there has to be a creator. There has to be a creator, and science has proven that if the set parameters, like you said, just an atom, as a small thing as an atom, if it is not in the ratio of 2 hydrogens and 1 oxygen, it will never be water. Similarly, the ratios of the creation of the universe itself are so minute and so this thing that it needs an intelligent mind, a supernatural mind beyond the dimensions of time and space to have orchestrated that. That's my take on that. But then, what do generally we answer these people? That's my question, sir.
A couple of responses. Where that area we can discuss so much. Last week I mentioned Darwin's theory. The motivation was to prove European white supremacy. They are the most fit people to survive. Colonies, and that period they felt so. That was the motivation.
Yes.
So the beginning was wrong. The Bible will not help them to develop a philosophy of that survival of the fittest. Bible says equality. God created every human being, no matter whether they are in Amazon or Africa, India, Australia, all are God's creation. So they wanted another support. Colonizers wanted another philosophic support, and Darwin provided it.
So
coming back, all the evolution theorists argue that always this development is from simple to complex. That's their argument. Simple to complex. That's the argument. They say complex mechanisms are formed from simple. And the entire evolution theory is founded on this principle. Simple to complex. Two things. Is it really true? Question. I say it is not really true. In America, we have a creation research group. You can Google it, creation research group, and they very creatively and substantially argued that that principle is not tenable. Because in this world, at the same time, simple to complex happens, and at the same time, complex to simple also happens. Creation research, please Google it. You'll get plenty of material in this area. They are the people who developed the Noah's Ark. Okay. And I'm going to visit that place soon. There's a creation research museum is there. I want to visit that. I follow their material. You keep an organic material, a piece of bread in your yard. Suppose the squirrels and birds are not eating. Suppose it stays there. No, in India, better is cow dung. We have cows and we have cow dung. So the cow is keeping the cow dung in the yard. And the first day, nothing happens. It's a warm cow dung. And next day, you go there and observe what is happening there. You will see something is happening there, but not very much observable. You go the third day, you will see third day, lot of movements inside, lot of microorganisms working inside. You go fifth day, cow dung, the amount is going down. You go after 5 days, the cow dung matter, the amount becomes 1/4. You go after some time, the cow dung becomes a little bit powder, What happened? Microorganisms started breaking the complex into simple. Who are the viruses? COVID virus, coronavirus. What is that? Bacteria. They are disintegrating agents. They have the potential to make the complex too simple, break up very complicated a protein molecule of our body. The virus can break it. This simple virus has got the power to break the complex microorganisms. They break it. So in the universe, exactly like the simple to complex happens, the same way complex to simple also happens. Yes. We grow, we die one day, and we disintegrate. Yeah. The complex to simple happens. So it happens in both the way. So evolution theory is built on one thing. Yes, and they completely forgot the other side. So it is only partial science. Evolution theory is only partial science, not perfect science. So every time, anything, the simple to complex and complex to simple happens simultaneously. It happens in this universe. Otherwise, life cannot exist. Life continues because these two important activity happens almost on equal level or on par. That happens. So evolution theory has got holes in it. Evolution theory has got holes in it. So you will get more material searching a creation research group, or I will, let me see if I get time, I can also. Thank you, sir. I will do it. So evolution theory, the beginning was wrong. Value system, they are collapsing the value system because equality and morals, there is nothing. Value system, evolution theory is destructive to the value system of the universe. The entire value system of the universe, evolution theory is destructive, it's not constructive. There is nothing constructive comes out of evolution theory in regard to moral, ethical, value system of our universe. It is unnatural. Exactly like unnatural human beings, evolution theory is unnatural. It's against the system of the universe. So the motivation, the procedure, and the product, the final argument, all of them has got holes in the evolution theory. Then our simple arguments of monkey and all those things are there. And why we don't have another being evolved from human beings. We don't have another being evolved. In the entire known history, human beings are there, and we don't have another Superman developed until Nietzsche believed so. Nietzsche
Exactly.
thought one day sooner a Superman will develop, but that is only in movies.
Yes.
Superman exists only in movies, not in reality. And another person was saying something. Is it social? Sushma, please go ahead.
Yes, Pastor, you talked about two arguments, the argument of degree of perfection. I have a question for the moral arguments. Moral arguments also are can be having degrees. Like my moral concept will not be the same for the other person. So when you introduce the judiciary and the everything, so I have a simple example that if one of my unbelievers, neighbors or somebody, they are worshiping God and they are having a good normal life, then when I introduce God, they will not need that. They will think that we are morally higher than us. So it is very difficult to convince them about the need of God. So how do we do that?
Thank you, Sushma. I will first go to the neighbor thing. Neighbor already has a religion, but this argument is for irreligious people who don't believe in God. This existence of God argument, today's arguments, we are leveling against those who say there is nothing beyond matter. So we say moral. That person also has got a moral. This is not an argument to convince our faith to the other person. This is a different level. This is a different level. But in that case, when it comes to their case, we will, our next two classes, we will focus on religion. Religion and the problem of different religions, moral depravity and their misunderstanding of morality. Those things we will deal next two classes. But the point we raised last week and today is very clearly saying moral obligation, morality, even all these things demand the need for accepting that there's a force power that is beyond our morality, and we call it God. So that is the point. Thank you so much for raising that, so I could make it clear. Thank you. Anybody else? Any more? No more questions? Then I will conclude with a couple of words, couple of concluding remarks. I will provide you this PowerPoint. I will provide you. And individually, we had to spend time, like some of you reflected. Only 2% openly shared, but each one of you, let's be very serious Christians. Let's don't take casually everything. Last Sunday, I went to a church. And we had Pastor William Best preaching, one of the very good pastors I found in Michigan. And he read a statement at the beginning, last Sunday, at the beginning. And I loved it so much. And he, in that several very collection of statements, one of the statements struck me so much. The statement was like this: God has a higher plan for you, but casual seekers will never reach that higher level. God has a higher plan for every one of us. But if our life is very casual, taking things lightly, taking things granted, we will never reach that higher level. To reach that higher level, complaining will not help. Nothing will help us. Let's be very serious about our seeking God. Same way, faith and witness. We want people of faith. We want to be people of faith and people of witness. Let's be very serious about it. Serious about our faith. And Jesus wants radical Christians. Jesus wants people who are absolutely serious about what we follow. Absolutely serious. So with the Bible College, you're getting some of the very good teachers who are practical. We all are not just teachers. We are practicing it in a mission, ministry, and all. Pastor Vio Varghese, Pastor Joy Thomas, Pastor Vinny Jacob, and we all are practicing it. It's not just intellectual level thing. So be serious about our life. Let's develop a different radical lifestyle. Don't compare with others. Let's become serious seekers, serious disciples. absolutely serious about what we believe and what we follow and what we do, and absolutely serious about Jesus. Absolutely serious about Jesus. And keep that in your mind. I want all our students to keep this thing in your mind. God has a higher plan for you. This is from Pastor William Best. And casual seekers will never find it, will never reach it. Only serious seekers will find it. Number two, next 2 weeks, we will deal with the religion. Next Saturday, I will be focusing more on the biggest attack on Christianity, that is mostly Judaism and Islam. Islam borrowed mostly arguments from Judaism. Jews are minority now, so they are not, their voice is not heard today. But that voice is heard through Islam. So we will focus on Islamic arguments against Christian faith. That will be our focus next Saturday. How to answer them. That will be our focus. And the next day we will focus on Hinduism, Buddhism, and Jainism, things like that. Confucianism, those things are. And then last 2 weeks, we will discuss on cults, various cults in Christian faith. Within the Christian branch or brand, there are so many cults, how to answer them. So for everything, their origin is important, how they started, motivation. Same evolution theory, I said, what is the motivation? So we had to analyze the origin, beginning, motivation. From there, we can figure out what they say, why they say what they say. So that is what our procedural methodology will be. And come prepared, do some reading. And I know I give you very limited information, very summarized information, but I want you to further develop on it, get material, Google it, and read it, and develop on it. So now it is 8:30, and I'm stopping here. Appreciate your time, appreciate you spending. Invite somebody for next Saturday. Would you please take time to invite someone to come and join this discussion? These are serious things we are discussing. Ask Sister Binsi whether she did Bachelor of Divinity 4-year program under Sarampur University system. Did she deal with 20 arguments for God? No, we were not focused on that. In seminary, focus was on something else. Teleological and ontological argument, only 2 things we discussed, isn't it? So we are filling the missing links in our theological education, in our Samveda program. So I'll bring it back. Time back to Sister Benzi. And thank you so much. My prayers are with you, and kindly continue to pray for us. We need your prayers. Sometimes we are human beings and we get sick and weak. Last week I became very weak because of my hard work and travel and things like that. To keep my yard beautiful, I do the mowing, everything I do myself. So a lot of hard work in the summer. Time back to Sister Benz.
Praise the Lord. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you for taking the class. May God bless you. It's a great blessing for us that thank you for explaining some of the important things that we are facing.